There's a view that some people have in the nation, in all these battles across the country, either that unions are under assault and that they're being, balance the budgets on the back of the poorest workers. And then there's the other view is that unions have had a almost gravy train ride for decades, and it's time for them to recognize that these governments cannot afford the expensive pensions and the health care and the work rules and the salaries. Obviously, I know which side you're on in that argument, but it seems to me that the unions across the country are in trouble now, unlike any time in my life history as a professional reporter.
Unions are under attack, that's clear. And I would suggest that there's a conscientious strategy that's been implemented by the right-wing zealots in this country to weaken public sector unions. That's clear.
You're not calling Ike Leggett a right-wing zealot?
No, I'm not. But, look what happened in the last election cycle. The Democrats lost many governorships. We lost many state houses, and they've been replaced by the right-wing fringe of the Republican Party, who believe that their way to monopolize even more of the political footprint, if you will, is to weaken public sector unions. Why? Because we have the highest concentration of union members in the country.
Right. The private sector unions are not doing so well.
Private sector's down to about 7%, 6, whatever number is the actual number these days. It's around 7%, but in the public sector, we're at 38%.
We're talking with Gino Renne. He is president of the Municipal and County Government Employees Organization in Montgomery County, and taking your calls at 800-433-8850, or you can go to our website, kojoshow.org. If you have a question or comment for Mr. Renne, you can also send an email to kojo@wamu.org or a tweet at Kojo Show. More specifically, there's a case playing out in court that directly involves the other piece of this puzzle that you and Tom were just discussing, and that is your power in collective bargaining. A county judge ruling last week that the county executive is not required to support a budget if the executive opposes it, even if that budget is the result of a collective bargaining agreement and it was approved by a labor arbitrator. What's your opinion of that ruling, and what do you think is at stake in the long term? The county judge says that the first priority of the county executive has to be his constituents. It cannot be a collective bargaining agreement.
Well, I believe the decision's flawed, and it's a matter of interpretation of law. This particular judge felt that his interpretation was consistent with the reading of the law. I suspect that decision will be challenged. That decision was handed down through a FOP challenge of Leggett's decision. We, as you know, have a challenge pending as well. Our law's written a little differently. I don't know if that gives us any more clarity on the outcome or not, but I can say to you that we're not just going to take a first level of the judicial system decision and stop there. We'll obviously have to appeal this through the courts and see what the final outcome is.
The fundamental issue is that whatever agreements a government has made, whether it's contracts or wage agreements, that if the economy, if the fiscal health of the government is in danger, it has the right to change. I mean, some contractors learn that the hard way.
Any contract, I suspect, there's ways out of just about any contract. There could be consequences and penalties, of course, but let's be clear on what the issue is. In our particular case, our union, I put $25 million worth of savings on the table. We weren't asking for a dime. When we began negotiations in November, first thing I asked the executives team, how much money do you think you have to save from our contracts, Local 1994? They gave me an arbitrary number, which turned out to be exaggerated, which is no surprise to me. But in any event, I didn't argue over the number. I went back and worked with my 38-member bargaining team and took that to the membership, and they said, okay, see if we can help save the money, because we felt there would be a long-term advantage to doing so. And we did that. We put $25 million hard dollars worth of savings on the table, but it wasn't good enough for this executive.